Hey everybody, I'm Zach Daniel with Victorian Finance, and welcome back to Constructive Conversations.
And I'm Dreamus Bradley with Victorian Finance.
Thanks for joining us today, Dreama. What we're going to talk about today is just a little market update in 2026. There's been a lot of things in the news that have really affected the market, and coming right off the presidential's State of the Union last night, we just want to cover a couple of those topics and really what that's going to look like going into 2026. So, Dreama, thanks for joining me. Let's talk first about applications. So, you and I kind of looked at that earlier. So, what's that looking like for us?
Yep, so applications have risen so far in 2026 by 16%, which is a promising part of what we have to come here in the spring months.
I agree. I think that's good, just a good indicator of the spring and summer is really going to catapult us this year over last year. Um, Interest rates are falling. I think year over year, what we've looked at from last year to this year, interest rates are about 1% lower, and that's the lowest levels they've been since COVID, really, right?
Or since 2022, that's right. So 1%, and that gives more buying power to um, the consumer purchasing homes
Yeah.
currently.
Yeah, and one of those biggest driving factors earlier in the year, and I think President Trump really uh, re-engaged on it in the State of the Union was he's directed Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to purchase mortgage-backed securities.
Yep, and it's in the effort to reduce interest rates, which is promising. So hopefully, as we continue on throughout this year, we'll see rates fall even further.
Yeah, I think the number I saw was he was going to advise them to purchase $200 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities. Something that I remember reading once before was during COVID, we were they directed mortgage-backed securities to be bought by the government of $400 billion. So
Wow.
we're looking at right at half of what they were doing during COVID that lowered our interest rates lower than we've ever seen before. So that's going to be huge.
Absolutely. It is. It's good to be us for sure.
Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about Americans right now and where we stand as far as current homeowners and the interest rates that they hold.
Yep. So it says 21% of American have Americans have rates of 6% or higher. So I'm expecting people, as rates fall, to be more apt to purchase a home if they're at 6% now. Or, I believe that there may be refinance opportunities coming here in the near future.
Yeah. So, where are you seeing rates right now?
So rates have gone to about 6%.
Yeah.
And there's talks of them decreasing further. So 6% is pretty good.
Yeah. I remember not that long ago, I was just begging for a 6% interest rate. And that way, I felt like for the people that I was working with and potential buyers, the affordability was an issue, especially for first time home buyers. And I remember telling people, like, if we could just get to 6%, like, it will be a game changer. And I mean, we're here.
We are. It's very promising.
Yeah, I agree. Um, One of the biggest things that President Trump talked about in the State of the Union was his executive order for institutional investors to stop purchasing single family homes. So he was banning institutional investors, and by that we mean like Wall Street, big company investors. Um, Tell us a little bit about that, Dreama.
Yep. So he is saying, hey, our homes here in America are for Americans. We want Americans to purchase these houses and to have them as their homes. versus, these large companies coming in and buying multiple properties and then renting them.
Right.
It seems to me that, home ownership for the American people is a big focus, especially this year.
I would agree. And when we talk about institutional investors, we're not talking about one-off single investors. So, investment properties are still able to be purchased, but it will be long goes the days of where you have full neighborhoods of houses that are just strictly rental properties where you'll see some of the big builders. I know we've talked about some of the bigger builders before where they'll build full neighborhoods and then there's just a leasing sign out front and you go into the model home and just rent a house. That's going to be a thing of the past, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. And the old, build to rent model where they would build, a section of townhomes or homes, and then they would sell it to the big investors for rental property.
Yeah, and that would just open up more inventory for people to buy. I think that with interest rates falling, it's just there's a real focus this year on affordability for housing.
And, it's not only the American dream, but it's also you're building generational wealth once you purchase that home. And, as the market has done in the past, the property value increases. And so you have that amount of equity, and that amount of equity to put into another home, which then in turn builds.
Right.
And so that generational wealth is what's important, and building a better future for yourself and your family.
Yeah, because purchasing a home is an investment for you. I mean, you don't have to be an investor, but when you purchase your home, you're building that equity, faster than your 401k grows, and then being able to utilize that equity to keep increasing and buying a bigger home or using equity to invest into other things is just how you really build wealth as a consumer. One of the biggest things and something that I am very excited about, trigger leads. So, Dreama, tell us what a trigger lead is.
So a trigger lead is historically when you go and you fill out an application for a mortgage, and we will go in and pull credit. We do what's called a tri-merge. So it's Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion.
Mm-hmm.
Those particular companies will sell your information. And then all of a sudden, you're getting multiple calls from these different mortgage companies that are saying, hey, I can do your mortgage. But the good news is,
on March 5th, they have officially announced that the law will take effect where trigger leads will cease. And I'll tell you, I've had clients that after I've ran their credit, they've called me just irate. They have had up to 100 calls in the last 4 hours from all kinds of mortgage companies. And I mean, it is such a nuisance to somebody wanting to buy a home. I mean, and it's a nuisance to us too, because it then is competition where people are trying to undercut what you've already built for your client. But that is taking effect March 5th, where trigger leads will cease to exist. So those calls will stop once you apply for a mortgage.
And what a better buying experience that's going to provide for our people.
I 100% agree, and I mean, they're sneaky. I've had people say that they've got calls where they have even told the people that they were me or that they work directly with me.
Absolutely, I have seen the same, and unfortunately, it's just something that's taken place, and you can go on the do not call list, but sometimes I don't feel like
I don't think that works.
It's very effective. But now March 5th.
March 5th, that goes away, so it will be a better experience, like you said, for home buyers. So overall, I think the State of the Union really focused on the American dream, single family homes, lower interest rates, and more affordability for people. So it was all very good news when it comes to housing.
Yes, absolutely. So here's to buying new homes and selling new homes and mortgage lending and all the great things that we have going for us here, and especially in this area with so much coming in.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, as far as today goes, that's our market update. So, Dreama, thank you for joining me
Thank you for
today,
having me.
and we'll see you next time on Constructive Conversations.